So once again, welcome to everybody to our first class, this mod. It's DES 365 Animation Scripting. And the big difference between this, welcome to everybody. Everybody has come from different, possibly different backgrounds, meaning some of you have come just recently from DES 246, which is Adobe Edge, and you were introduced to that tool. And others of you may have taken DES 246 when it was just the Adobe Flash tool. This mod, we're going to be using Adobe Flash, and Caroline Norton is going to be here shortly to explain that to us. She has provided me a presentation that she's going to go through. And so I expect that she'll be showing up here very, very soon. So before we begin, do we have any questions? Awesome. Okay, great. Well, I'm going to share my screen, and then I'll turn off the video. So welcome to DES 365. Can everybody see the PowerPoint presentation? Okay, great. So in this course, we use Adobe Flash CC 2015. And if you don't have Adobe Flash, you can just contact Jason Merrill as soon as possible to get his assistance on downloading it. Does everybody have Adobe CC 2015 on their machine? Awesome. If you don't, let me know. Yep. Gonna let her know how to get with us. Let's see here. Yeah, the latest, the CC 2015. So there's the email address. It's actually independence.edu, and right here. Yeah, okay, just so you know, independence.edu if you have any questions or concerns. So our agenda this week, we're going to have two classes, one tonight and one on Wednesday night. By the way, does everybody know that the football championship is going on tonight? I totally spaced that. My wife called me up and asked me how she could access ESPN or something, and I didn't know why. So are any of you watching it on the TV while we're in class? You don't need to tell me. I'll just be probably asking you to give us updates. All right, well, I don't know if anybody is rooting for one or the other, but if so, please state your allegiances now. Okay, so we have some going for Clemson, and it's not Super Bowl, Rhonda. It's actually the college NCAA football championship. So, yep, there's a lot going on. This is the final championship. Well, hello, Caroline. Welcome. Let's jump to the presentation. Go ahead if you want to unmute yourself.
Hey everybody, how are you doing? So I asked, let's see, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I sometimes mute my computer and forget. Okay, so I asked Chip to have me come in and talk to you because I am the Associate Dean that is over all of the web and animation classes, and we have been doing a lot of things with these courses to make sure that they are up to date and teaching you what you need to know when you graduate. So Adobe kind of threw us a curveball, and so I know quite a few of you had Design 360 last mod, and we're taught Edge Animate. So I'm going to kind of give you a little background and kind of what is happening. So Flash plus Edge Animate equals Adobe Animate. So go ahead on the next slide. So like I said, here at Independence, we are committed to teach you the most current software that the industry standard is using to our students, and just kind of give you a background a little bit about course rewrites. It is very time consuming. There's a lot of things that have to go into it, approval processes with not only our curriculum team, but also with the Department of Education. So, you know, it all has to do with accreditation. So the Flash courses have been in the rewrite process for many months, and we have to get approval from the Department of Education with our curriculum team with rewriting all of these. So I have been working on this for a long time, and to get everything changed over to the HTML5 canvas. When we started this, Flash did not have that capability. And Edge Animate was the program that designers were moving to. Anybody tell me why we moved away from Flash and was going to Edge Animate because of the HTML5 canvas output? Anybody? Rhonda, Aaron, Vicki? You can bring my slide back up. Edge writes the CSS in its programming. Yeah. The Adobe programming team developed Edge to be able to do animations and help designers that are not programmers to write the JavaScript and the CSS and the HTML to create these animations. Okay, so since that was the go-to program and the industry started using Edge Animate, that was where the course rewrites were headed. Okay, next. So we were teaching Edge Animate in mods 10, 11, and 12. Well, Adobe announced on November 30th, 2015, that they will no longer actively develop Edge Animate. I just about had a heart attack and fell off my chair. So because DES 365 was in its final phase of rewrites for Edge Animated, we needed to address the issue, okay? Next slide. So instead, and we're going to we're going to answer your question on that, Aaron. So instead of finishing the course rewrite for Edge Animate, which capabilities being developed are merging into the Adobe's future version of Animate. So this course will be using Adobe's most recent version of Flash, which has many of these capabilities already built in and will still remain in there when it becomes Adobe Animate in early 2016. Next slide. Okay, so I have to get out my reading glasses, but I have a URL on here, and Chip is going to upload this into the announcements and also into the live session, so those that are listening to this, they can download this and read it as well. But you can see that on November 30th, where Mod 12 was already up and running, they announced Adobe Edge tools and services were launched in 2012 as a way for Adobe to develop and experiment with a set of task-focused, lightweight apps for responsive web design. So they were pushing Edge Animate, and they were going, okay, this is the tool to use if you need to output HTML5 canvas with the CSS and JavaScript. And so that's what everybody was doing. So come to find out, Animate was their experiment. And so, well, for us. So Chip, you want to mute?
Oh, sure.
Okay. So in order to focus our efforts, I
gotta turn my mute. Hold on. I gotta find my mute button.
There you go. Okay. All right. So, so in order to focus their efforts and resources on implementing this feedback, Edge Reflow and Edge Inspect and Edge Animate are no longer being actively developed. They're going to continue to support it, but they are going to be bringing out the Edge Animate's core capabilities to their industry-leading creative tools with ongoing support for open web standards. So basically what they have done, and then this article here, and I have a link here for you to go in and take a look. They are going to be taking what they've developed in Edge Animate. They have actually are reprogramming Adobe Animate from the ground up, merging Flash tools and Edge Animate tools together. So what does this mean for us? Next slide. So instead of Edge Animate, we will be using the Adobe Flash CC 2015, which has many of Edge's tools for HTML5 canvas output already built in it. So they have been bringing those in. So between Edge Animate 2014, when 2014 was out, they didn't have native capabilities for Edge Animate, for HTML canvas. You could get a plugin for it. So they were band-aiding and kind of adding to it, and they kind of still are, but you can now create a new HTML5 canvas document in Flash 2015 on the latest upgrade on it, or update on it, as well as WebGL and stuff that's more native. So if Adobe updates Flash to Animate during this course, go back one slide, sorry, I missed an important part. Animate CC will continue supporting Flash and AIR formats as first-class citizens. In addition, it can output animations to virtually any format, including SVG, through its extensible architecture. So they are basically making this a robust program that is going to be able to supply outputs to current and future web standards. Anybody know why Flash became the bastard child of Adobe? Anybody remember? And why everybody says Flash is dead or Flash is dying? It creates a Swift file, right? The SWF, you remember that from 246? Because everybody in this class had 246 and was taught Flash. Yeah. Well, Apple, about 2 years ago, maybe it was longer, time flies, quit supporting the Flash player on their mobile devices. You cannot watch any kind of animation that is done in Flash on an iPad or an iPhone. So that is why people were moving to the HTML5 Canvas framework. Okay, so today, over a third of all content created in Flash Professional uses the HTML5, reaching over 1 billion devices worldwide. It has also been recognized as an HTML5 ad solution that complies with the latest Interactive Advertisement Bureau. So this is something that has just been released probably within the last 6 months, but we had already been into Animate. So like I said, course rewrites take a long time. Okay, go ahead and go forward. So if Adobe updates Flash, because they say that Adobe Animate will be released early 2016. In fact, when they first announced this, they said it was going to be done in January of 2016. And I'm like, yay, woohoo. But now they've changed it to early 2016. So if it happens during this course, then these features will be covered in class, anything that's different. If Adobe does not update during this course, you can audit this class or any other class you have taken at any time it is offered in the future at no charge, if you're a graduate or a current student in good standing. So I just want to make sure that all of you understand that what you are learning now is cutting and new technology. And so every single time you have a class that deals with technology, just know things are going to update all the time. So when you graduate, what you've learned here, you're going to have to continue your education anyway to keep up with current standards. So as a graduate of Independence University, you can come back and audit any of those classes at any time you want when they're offered, at no charge, which is pretty cool. Okay, so next slide. So here's some FAQs. I took DES 360 last mod and I learned Edge Animate. Have I wasted an entire mod? Absolutely not. Understanding the HTML5 Canvas protocol and the file it outputs is the same no matter what program you use to produce them. Edge Animate and Flash are both tools to help you create the code. The timeline is very similar and using the keyframes is the same. So who will we talk to when that happens? You mean to audit a class, Rhonda? Yeah, your associate dean. Contact your associate dean when you want to, even after you graduate. Your associate dean is there for you. I mean, I have had students that graduated clear back in 2010 that I'm still in contact with. Okay, all right, next slide. I took DES 246 many mods ago and I can't remember anything about using Flash. Will I be able to complete this course? Absolutely yes. I have added in many tutorials that are going to help you refresh your memory and to help you learn the latest updates added to Creative Cloud 2015 to be able to complete this course. So in the new format that Chip is going to go through and show you, we have a new media page that's part of the 5-page syllabus. And that has a list of every tutorial and every video and every reading source that is in the entire course, minus the daily checkpoints. Next slide. So here's some additional information. This course utilizes OERs, and one of the resources is lynda.com. Who's heard of lynda.com? Yeah. So the school is in the process of providing students with this incredible resource and should be implemented in the first quarter of 2016. It's an awesome resource. And so in the meantime, to access these tutorials that will give you additional training on the latest features of the HTML5 canvas, WebGL, and other cross-platform output Flash provides, you will be able to create a free 30-day trial on lynda.com. So if you don't already have an account with lynda.com, then you can get a free 30-day trial, which will more than cover the time you're in this class to be able to have access to all of the tutorials that we have listed in the OERs, as well as additional ones. I didn't put in, how to create a motion tween, how to, all of those, but you have access to all of those tutorials. So anything that you can't remember how to do, then you can go in there, search for it, and find it. Just make sure that you choose the Flash 2015. I'm going to give you a hint to one of the questions on one of the quizzes. I can't remember which week it is in, but in Flash 2014, they got rid of a whole lot of capabilities that Flash did, but in 2015, they reintroduced quite a few of them back in because people went and screaming and yelling. So, so it's very, very important to stay up to date. So if Chip shows you something in class and you are not on the latest version of Flash 2015, you're still on 2014, or you haven't updated your Flash, make sure you get your Flash updated. So if you're on 2014, you're going to need to make sure that you get your software updated through our web store. If you haven't done that already, you will have received an email from Jason Merrill. Go in and look at that, look for that, check your spam. But if you're on 2014, you will not be able to do this class because it does not have the HTML5 canvas and WebGL capabilities. Okay, so the live sessions will also cover step-by-step processes. Anybody have any questions? Rhonda says no. Aaron, not yet, not at this time. So does this make sense to you guys? Why all of a sudden this big shift again? Yeah, I was not going to finish out 365 and Edge Animate last mod when I saw that announcement. I wanted to make sure that, and it's the university's policy to try and keep our courses as up to date as we can. And because I was already in the middle of a rewrite, the curriculum team said, you know what, let's do it. And so we don't have to do it and do it over again. So you are on the cutting edge. You love learning, want to learn the animation, so this is cool for you. Awesome. What does this mean for the course I just finished in 360? What's 360? The Edge Animate doesn't mean anything. You've learned Edge Animate. You have learned HTML5. You have learned the files that it's created. You have learned some of the JavaScript code. It's going to help you. I mean, the Edge. Yeah. What Edge writes is being built into Flash. So it is, you can also put that on your resume. So the code that you are learning to write with Edge is in Flash now. And it's not going to be called Flash. So as you go through the course, you're going to see it, the course referencing Adobe Animate, because that is the name of the program that this is going to be as soon as Adobe updates. So I'll have, Adobe Animate, and then you'll see formerly Flash, and then that Flash is going to go away. Flash has a bad name. They're rebranding, they're renaming, because yes, it is going to be able to still output SWF files. It is still going to be a big play for gamers. But as far as for what we do with animation, with advertisements, banner ads, banner ads. Sorry, it's 9:30 my time. It's been a long day. All of those things are all done in HTML5 Canvas. So when I say HTML5 Canvas, that's talking about the Canvas tag that is written in HTML. You can't animate in the Canvas tag without JavaScript. Edge Animate helped you learn the basics of some of the coding for JavaScript to create interactivity. Okay? So you'll probably be ahead of the few people in this class that have not even had Edge Animate. They had Flash for both of their previous classes. So the HTML5 Canvas is going to be brand new to them. Okay. All right. Well, if there aren't any other questions, I'm not going to take up any more Chip's time. If you end up having any additional questions, feel free to talk to Chip. If he can't answer it, he can refer you to myself. It's caroline.norton@stevenshenniger.edu. Okay. Thank you, Chip.
Thank you, Caroline. While I had my screen dedicated to your presentation, I didn't watch the text messages go past. So let me make sure we're good. Let's see, Rhonda had a question. Who we talk to when that happens? I'm not sure if we got that one answered. Did we?
Oh, she was talking about the wanting to audit.
Okay, great.
That was back when I think I got all the questions answered in the chat.
Awesome.
Was there anything that didn't get answered in the chat?
No, I think we're good.
Okay, cool. All right, everybody. Well, it's late my time, so I'm headed off, and you guys have a fun night.
I really like Anorbads.
You like Anorbads? Yeah, I like that too.
Good.
Maybe I had bed in my mind, you know?
Anorbads. I like it. Okay. Thanks, Caroline. Okay, so this first hour, we're going to go over the course overview and the objectives of the course. We're going to discuss class policies, meet the instructor, moi, and our TA, Misty Porch. OER, if you don't know what that stands for, it's Online Educational Resources. Through our second overview, second hour, we'll go over the week one overview and objectives, discuss animation scripting and how it applies to graphic design. And we will begin going over the assignment one. Oops. So the description of our course. This course, let me read it to you, focuses on the basics of computer programming and how to write high-level code that dynamically places, moves, and alters the elements of a design on screen. Now you might be a little bit concerned about that, how to write high-level code. The good news is Adobe Flash comes with the ability to export JavaScript. It literally has libraries of routines built into it, and we'll learn how to use that. It's very much like the library that we've used in previous Flash classes. Now, students will build complex programs step by step and employ key programming skills and methods while building up a code base that can be employed in a range of personal and professional applications. So the good news here is that we're going to really take advantage and leverage Adobe Flash's ability to export the JavaScript that's already built in. So that's the good news. We're using the Adobe Flash tool to help create the user interface, or just be the tool that we can then design at a high level the interactivity, but then at the low level, it will export that out. So I don't want anyone to freak out right now that they're going to have to learn to code from scratch. That won't be a requirement. We might spend a little time looking at the code just so that you are a little bit familiar with it, but the scope of teaching JavaScript, for example, is really outside the scope of this class. So we're going to probably not be fulfilling this completely. However, I think that we'll get close to it, and we might experiment like on w3schools.com, some of the high-level code writing. We'll do it at that level. Okay. And then this code base, if you don't know what that means, that it really is saying that when you develop the interactive programs, you can create components that you can then take with you and keep with you so that the next project you work on, you can reuse some of those components. And we'll go into what that means. That's what it means when it says code base. It's kind of like a library of coding, of modules that you've created or you've customized. That's what a code base is. So you create a little collection of electronic collection of programs, and they're like component parts that you can then reuse for other projects in the future. For example, like you develop a ball object that has all sorts of interactivity with it, and the ball, you could reuse that ball component in another project that requires a ball component. That's what that's talking about. Wide range of personal and professional applications. Okay, so here are the course objectives. Any questions so far? You good? Still with? We're good? Okay, good. Feel free to unmute yourself. And just, if I'm missing, if a question comes up and I miss it, feel free to unmute yourself. That would be fine. That's not an interruption for me. These are the course objectives. Identify and explain how the scripting language has progressed toward HTML. Create a user interactive animation using an advanced scripting language, which would be JavaScript. Apply the use of a good user experience, UX. That's UX is the acronym for user experience. And user interface, UI. That's the acronym for user interface in an animation. Identify and explain the challenges of creating animations in a cross-platform device development environment. Let me explain what that means right there. Now, cross-platform, this word platform, I don't want you to worry about that word. All it really means is a type of device, meaning, for example, a laptop or a smartphone, or a tablet or a desktop computer. Do you see how each of those represent a different type of device? Well, that's what the challenge is, to create animations that are dynamic enough that they can respond to the different device sizes, and that the media that's used is appropriately sized and scaled for that particular device. So the word platform is another word for type of device, okay? Everybody have that? Platform just means a type of device, okay? Prepare files that address the challenges of creating animations in a cross-platform device development environment. So we can not only create animations that are then run in these environments, then we can also, in developing them, we can use these different tools. So where are we headed? Well, this final project overview. This is what you get to create during this mod. By the end of this mod, you will have a conceptualized, created, produced, and published an animated infographic to be presented in your professional portfolio. So the big difference here between what you accomplish in this class and what you've accomplished thus far is interactivity. That's the main difference. Whereas before, the skills that you've developed thus far in the previous classes, they have limited themselves from interactivity. And when I say interactivity, I mean like pressing buttons and getting the animation to do something different based upon what buttons you choose. Or another interactivity would be, let's say, bubbles that are going from bottom to top, and you click on a bubble and then something happens. So that's another interactive idea. So the difference between this class and other classes is that this one is interactive, whereas previous ones were pretty much you start it and you watch it until it's over. The animation is like straight shot. It just doesn't have any interactivity. So that's the big difference between this class and other classes. Does everybody understand what I'm explaining to you? In fact, if you want to give me either a yes or no, if you're a little bit worried or you don't get the point that I just made, just put a question mark, and that'll send me a signal that I'm kind of losing you. Okay, looks like we're good. Okay, so interactivity. You're kind of changing the fate of the animation because of the interactivity. That's the goal here. But in the past, we've even gone as far as designed games. But in this one, we're just going to focus on an infographic. That this infographic is going to be an infographic about you. This is kind of like a portfolio website, but it's interactive. It's a little bit more involved with the interactivity, whereas a website, it too is interactive in that you can click on links and buttons, but this one is going to be an animation, whereas the other one where you have a website, a portfolio website where you click on links and buttons, it's a slightly different model there. Both would be based in HTML because we are outputting HTML, and the other animations or the websites that you've created in the past and other classes were also in HTML. And yes, there's interactivity. You click on buttons and you click on links in the website, and likewise here. The thing that's going to be different is that we're going to really live in the world of JavaScript without really knowing it. So the interactivity is not going to be just static buttons that you click on or static links that you click on. Our animation will basically be housed in the world of JavaScript, and thereby the interactivity is using keystrokes or the mouse going over buttons. Or there's going to be mouse events that we'll be able to respond to. JavaScript is built into the browser now, and so we're going to be taking advantage of that. There's one other thing that is built in the browser and it's related to JavaScript, and that is WebGL. And GL stands for Graphics Library. And so what the developers of these browser developers, you've heard of Google Chrome. So Google, the company, created Chrome to browse the internet. Microsoft created Internet Explorer. Mozilla Group created Firefox. Apple created Safari. And so these companies are really considered web browser developers. And what they've done is they built into their web browser not only the ability to handle JavaScript coding, but also it has an advanced library of routines that are also implemented within JavaScript, which is they're specially designed routines for doing graphics, and it's really this library, the WebGL library that we'll be using, and that Adobe Flash, the exported files will use. The JavaScript that's built into the browser is designed for 2-dimensional graphics and 3-dimensional graphics also. So web browsers just by themselves had to be enhanced to include the support for JavaScript. They're also supporting HTML5 now and CSS3, and so the browsers had to be enhanced in order to process the applications that developers were creating. In the past, Adobe Flash, the runtime engine, the Flash player, that pretty much did everything that we're getting to do now with just just a browser. In fact, that's a big move right now for the World Wide Web Consortium to develop the HTML5 in order to be able to do pretty much what Adobe Flash Player already was doing. But again, we know the story there. So Adobe is going away from the SWF, which actually stands for Shockwave File Format. They're leaving that. And in support, like Caroline explained, in support of the new standard, the HTML5 standard, and the JavaScript, plus this WebGL. So that's now they're going to that. So basically, all these web browser developers, Google, Microsoft, Apple, Mozilla, and there are more, they are all getting on the bandwagon and being able to take advantage of these libraries, and so that now these browsers are going to be able to do what the Flash player used to only be able to do, and now we'll be able to do it with these browsers. Okay, everybody following me still? Which browser do I prefer? I like Google Chrome. During the break, I'll show you the statistics on Google, on browsers. Yeah, YouTube actually used to be all Flash-based video, and now they're going to HTML5. Also, during the break, I'll show you how to tell whether or not you're running a Flash animation or just a regular HTML5 animation. I'll do that too. I like Google Chrome. Okay, so I think we're good on questions. So that's what's going on, and World Wide Web Consortium is just trying to stay in front of the curve and documenting and describing and defining HTML and CSS. I don't think JavaScript is really evolving so much as the libraries that are written with JavaScript are evolving, and WebGL is an example of that. All right, let's now go over some class policies really quickly. If you ever have any of these types of problems, get in touch with me. Use the in-class email. That works great. It documents your communication with me very effectively and is built right into the learning management system, into Canvas. So use Canvas to communicate with me. If we ever have problems with Canvas, then you can resort to my email address or phone number for that matter. Oops. So let me know what might be going on in your life that's impacting your ability to meet any deadlines. There's a whole list of things that, list of issues that can be used to be able to avoid the late penalty, for example. After you watch the live session, be sure to send me questions. So let's go look in the class here, our announcements. Oh, Missy hasn't yet made her announcement. I think it's because she's asked me to post it, so I'll post that during the break. I thought that was, I remember we had an announcement in here, but I thought it was Misty's, so I'll do that during the break. And yeah, we'll post an announcement for that. So due dates, I'll double check to make sure that they are already set on the assignments and assessments. So you already understand about the deadlines. The initial post is Wednesday night, and then the others are Saturday night. By the way, if you're taking 2 classes this mod, in the past I've actually offered a little olive leaf because I feel for you. And the olive leaf that I've offered for those who are currently enrolled in 2 classes is to be able to turn in their assignments on Sunday night at 11:59 p.m. Both assignments and assessments without a late penalty. And I'm offering that because I know how hard it is to take 2 classes, and if that and I'm trying to do what I can to help you. But the discussion post, I do want you to keep that to the Saturday night standard. But the assignment and assessment, if you have 2 classes, then let me know, and I'd be happy to work with you if that will serve you. Late policies, if after those dates you have up to 1 week to 1 week to submit late policies, to submit your assignment or assessment. So you have 1 week after that, okay? Week 1 can be sent late until the end of week 2 and so forth. Week 4 doesn't have any late ability though. Yeah, rework and do your best on your first submission. And a resubmission will not cost you points, late points. So do your best to get it turned in the first submission. We are grading using rubrics. And just follow, I don't know what just happened there. We're using rubrics, meeting, you'll see those rubrics in the course. These are just little hints on best way to get points. How much is to be completed, be called submitted on time? Well, you need to have at least 60% done. 60%, 600, basically 60% of the available points to be considered submitted on time. And when can you get an extension? Those are usually medical related or certain events in your life or in the life of your family. And just share with me what's happening, and I'll more often than not, I'll just cooperate with you. Yeah, this is the rule for preparing for that extenuating circumstance. Make sure you contact me before the deadline. So these are the specific details on that. Remember, if you have computer issues, you need to have another computer backup plan. That's part of your agreement. And then the other loss of internet due to non-payment, you're responsible for that too. These online educational, any questions? Okay. OER, Online Educational Resources. Here's where you'll find them, readings and tools. Thing I like about OERs is that they are up to date. If they're maintained by companies, they are kept up to date. Okay. All right, let's take a 10-minute break, and I'll be back shortly. And during the break, I will take some time to show you some of those things that I was mentioning. So I'll be right back. 10 minutes. Okay, welcome back from break. So I promised you that I would show you a couple things, and I actually forgot what I was going to show you during the break. Does anybody remember what I was going to show you? I can't remember. Okay, well, it'll come to me. There were two things I was going to show you. All right, if you guys remember, feel free to prompt me. All right, so let's now begin looking at this week. We're clear on where we're headed, the course description, the course objectives. Now let's begin with week 1. All right, so define the project. Did someone say something? No, okay. Defining the project and storyboarding. Does everybody know what storyboarding means? Storyboarding. It's like what they do when they make movies with images. There are tools, computer programs that you can use to do storyboarding. And some people can do it in like Adobe Illustrator or Photoshop, drawing programs like that. Other people like using paper and drawing. They're artists. That's probably the main usage, where sketch artists draw pictures and the storyboard comes together that way. So Adobe Flash is a tool that to use once you've got your storyboard complete. And I want to make sure that you're aware of this important step. And if you are interested to learn a little bit more about this step involved in with Adobe Flash, one thing you can learn about is the certifications that Adobe has created. So if you go to Google, we don't have links in our course, but when you go to Google and you type in Adobe Flash certification, and then click on this link, it gives you a list of some of the objectives that you would learn right here. So you can see setting project requirements is the very first thing that Adobe has felt a need to test and assess when they certify. So that's why right here you can see very first thing that we focus on is defining the project. So setting project requirements. See that? You'll find this to be helpful. There are 6 different areas, or 5 different areas for Adobe Flash, actually 6 for Adobe Dreamweaver. And here you can see some of the scope of the setting project requirements. And that's really what's going on here during our first week. So some of the detail: identify the purpose, audience, and needs for interactive media content. Interactive, you know the word. Identify interactive media content that is relevant to the purpose of the media in which it will be used. So here you get focused on those the platforms. Remember, websites, mobile devices, and so on. So identifying the media content. Understand the options for producing accessible interactive media content. What that basically means is get clear on what can be done with interactivity. Here, demonstrate knowledge of standard copyright rules, and that's kind of a given. Remember, any content that you use, you're probably going to be just using content that you've created, but in case you enhance your infographic with content that's copywritten, you have to be careful about that. Understand project management tasks and responsibilities. That would be typical for like managing a project like this. Communicate with others such as peers and clients. So this here is a nice breakdown of objectives. If you ever choose to get certified in Adobe Flash, these are the things that are important for you to know. Identifying interactive media design elements is the next step. And then just getting familiar with the interface, building interactive media elements by using Flash Professional. That's what we'll be doing. Many of these things we'll be doing and will be done for your, in many of these skills right here will be done this mod. So importing, modifying graphics, creating text, editing symbols and instances, creating masks, importing and using sound. That's all going to be part, possibly even adding, importing video, and so forth. So my purpose in sharing this with you is to let you see how this course is designed along that line of these skills and the order that they're being used. So we don't go hand in hand with all of these individual things, but we do our best to in the weeks that we have. Okay, everybody understand? We won't be doing the certification. That's not part of our plan, but at least we'll do our best to prepare you. For these objectives here, and hopefully by the time we're done in 4 weeks, you'll have a pretty good notion of all this. Okay. So define the user interface in a cross-platform and interactive platform, and that's part of this project here. In other words, what is going to happen when your infographic is running, and how can the user affect it as it's running. Conceptualize an interactive animated infographic, and identify and use the tools to create an interactive animation. So these are week 1 objectives. And to remind you, the final project overview in this module of conceptualized, created a self-promotional infographic that is interactive, keyword, and animated. You will then deploy it so it can be viewed on the internet, mobile devices, and a standalone application. Now, let me explain to you. Eventually, we won't know this week, but we will show you how to export HTML that will be, oh, I just remembered one of those things I was going to, but I'm not going to get sidetracked. I remembered one of them that I was going to show you during the break. Viewed on the internet, mobile devices, and this would be obviously a slightly different display size, and then finally a standalone application. And this is so that it can just be modified or run anywhere without any need for any supporting player or anything. Frankly, HTML5, that's what its design is to be that anyway. So, okay. So this is this week's readings and tools, and many links here. I think you heard Caroline talk about these. This is the OERs, the online educational resources that are available to you, and we are also working on getting lynda.com access. So. I don't yet have the particulars on that, but that's great news. So, so this would be the reading and tools that you would do over the next few days. And I don't see any links to Lynda, so I think we'll be good for at least this week on not being dependent upon Lynda. What I'm not clear on is whether or not we are all going to be given a membership to lynda.com. whenever I say lynda.com, this is what I mean. This website here. Online tutorials. So, or whether or not we're going to be using the free one. There's a 30-day free trial. So stay tuned on that. I don't have that information yet available to me. So remember our objective this week, storyboarding. Here's a link for learning how to do that. Summary of the new features of Flash. And then here are the required videos, converting Flash ads to HTML5. This is remember the old way was SWF files, and now the new way is HTML5. This one is how to create and publish an HTML5 Canvas document from scratch. That will be more like what we're doing, and I'll show you that here during the demo portion of our class, this second hour. And this here is the storyboard template. You can click here and it will download. And this has been provided by the writer of the course to help do the storyboard. It's an AI Adobe Illustrator template. She's got more fonts on her computer than I do. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to get those fonts. I may have to just go without. So this here is the template that's going to be used for the assignment. And but let me just get back to our readings and tools. Recommended readings and videos. Here we have the Adobe Animate cheat sheet, but remember, we're Adobe Flash. So Adobe Animate is where it's going to be called eventually, but right now it's Adobe Flash. So this is a little cheat sheet, which is nice to have. Oops, I think I went too far. And then working with timeline, motion tweens, importing and adding audio. All right, so those are recommended. Let's now talk about the discussion. And remember, your job is to post by Wednesday night. And Theo is beating there. Oh, Kelly too, and Kimberly. Wow, wow, you guys are just right on it. Wait a minute. No, I'm sorry. I read this and I thought it was our first discussion post. I don't usually use the word discussion when talking about the self. This is the introduce yourself, but I was already thinking it was our discussion. You guys know how to do this one already. I don't use the word discussion. I save this word discussion normally for this here. So sorry, I was a little sidetracked there. Okay, this is what I wanted to talk about. So explore what an interactive animated infographic means. We've already talked about that just a little bit, how it will apply to our final project. This is a link to the final project. So remember, 150 words would be your minimum. This is a 300 level class, and so I actually think that this might even be 200 words, possibly 200 and 250. So I'll get back to you on that, because normally 100 and 200 level classes have 150 word summary minimum, whereas 100, 200, 300, and 400 level classes, I'm quite sure is either 200 or 250. So I'll get back to you on that. So we have links here to ProQuest and Shark. for doing the research. Remember, it's very important and vital that you do your research and also include an APA formatted reference and citation, okay? See that right there? And make sure that you don't copy and paste so much that it's 20% more. 80% must be in your own words, okay? So you want to research that. And then you want to talk about what you are envisioning for your final project. And so here's an example here. My self-promotional animated graphic will show my best projects from each category in my portfolio. I will create some clever icons to represent each category that will be arranged on the stage around my logo. Then when someone hovers or touches the icon, that the featured project will animate onto the stage. I will also have an additional interactive button for more info about the thought process behind the project. There will also be a voiceover, that's audio, for an About Me icon on the main stage where I introduce myself and let a potential client know what I offer as a talented graphic designer. This description doesn't have to go into a lot of detail, but the overall concept idea should be clear, like in the example above. All right, so these are many good ideas. Let's brainstorm just for a minute here together as a group, and let's come up with some ideas and share them. Go ahead. In fact, if you'd like, you can unmute yourself. It's up to you. Unmute yourself if you like, or chat. And the goal here is to, there we go. Thank you, Francis. Where did that come from? It's normally what you find in the syllabus, but they've rewritten our syllabi, so that's exactly what I thought it was, 200. So I'll fix that. All right, so let's brainstorm for just a little bit on some of the ideas that you have. And you'll incorporate them in the assignment here in the different.
Chip, I have a question.
Please.
If we want our final, our project to be both on a cell phone and a computer, then are you gonna expect us to do the storyboard on both of them or just one?
Oh, that's a great question. Back in the previous class I just taught, I explained to them how web pages can now be made dynamic such that they respond immediately based upon the size of the device display that you have. So what I mean by that is,
we kind of saw that on Edge. I mean, there's a button on Edge that allows the what you developed to enlarge or go smaller depending on the frame. And is that what you're talking about right now?
yeah, that's it. So yeah, that's right. It's dynamic, and it's done using the CSS media rule. Typically, that's how it's done, where the web page has different CSS associated with it depending on the size of the display. So we're not going to worry about all that right this second, but I want you to, just for the sake of this assignment, to just focus on one display device for this week, and that would be, let's say, a typical display for your computer, laptop computer, for example.
Okay, so I have one more question, but this is like not concerning our homework. If I had a client that asked me to do the exact same thing that I'm doing, for myself, I'd probably want to do 2 storyboards, one for the phone and one for the computer. Is that correct?
Yep, that's right. And that would go for a website too.
Okay.
and they are very different. In fact, I'll show you just quickly, because we're talking about this, so that other people can understand a little bit an example of this as far as a website goes. The company I work for is Unique Products, and this is for this size of a display, this is what you see. But watch what happens. It's called responsive design. Watch what happens when the quote-unquote display size changes. I'm having a little bit of trouble grabbing that. Hold on one sec while I try to grab a corner here, or grab the tab to move it. Should be able to just grab it here, but the top bar is getting in the way of me from grabbing it. Every time I mouse up towards the thing to grab it, there you go, I got it. That was tough. Okay, so when you are designing and create a storyboard, it's one story depending on the large device. But watch this. This is a dynamic design that's dynamically changing based upon, right there. See that jump? That's a jump right there. And what that is a media rule inside the CSS that said, oh, our display, quote unquote, obviously we're not talking about the display of our laptop. We're actually talking about the display of the browser. The browser window is theoretically a smaller device now. And so it jumps right there. And it jumps to a different set of rules inside the CSS. It's like, let's say this was, 1,000 pixels. And once it is smaller, the display area, than 1,000, it would jump to a different display. And so this would kind of be like a second storyboard. And that's what you're referring to. Let me see if we have a third. There, right there. See that?
Right.
This here is the tablet size. This here is the storyboard or the display for a desktop device. Right there goes the tablet size. And right there goes the mobile device. And this is called responsive design. And each of those would have slightly different storyboards. But I'm just going to have you worry about the large one for this week. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay, great question. Now, this is going on in HTML5 and CSS. The same type of question would pertain to an animation. Adobe Flash, when I would do Adobe Flash development, I really wasn't too focused on dynamically resizing depending on the size of the display. So with HTML5 and CSS3, just so you know, CSS3 media rule, and this is how it's done right there. And you can see in CSS it says, the minimum width of this. If it's that, then this would be the rule, and so forth. So that's how it's done. All right, back to our discussion here. We're just going to focus on one size, and let's continue with our discussion of ideas for animation. Okay, thank you, Francis. Okay, let's brainstorm some ideas of, and just, these are all potential ideas for your storyboard, and just throw some ideas out on you can do it in the chat. Let's just type some ideas. So let's say revolving portfolio. Let's see, that might be like a spinning portfolio would be an interesting one. Mouse over to make large image. So you mouse over it. It's a thumbnail, and then you mouse over it, and then it becomes large just by mousing over it. You meant the one that we just read had some additional information about you could mouse over it and it would create a link, or it would present some text. Okay, everybody, start brainstorming. That's a great idea. Oh, animated logos, those are the best. If you can animate your logo inside of the animation of your portfolio, just think, animated logos, I think it's a niche. You know, it's one thing to just do a logo, but having an animated logo, that would be a niche out there. There's so many logo developers, but how about an animated logo? Right now, you know, and that would definitely be a plus item if you chose to do that. Animated logos are they're handy because we're so online now, and I don't know if any of these are GIFs. If they're GIFs, then but anyways, animated logo would be a very interesting thing to do. I was hoping some of these were GIFs, like you can animate your logo within a GIF, but ours, we're doing it in Adobe Flash, but that would be an animation within an animation, which is definitely doable.
Well, my company that I have is called Hot Red Media, and I have somebody else in town that's Red Hot Media, and I was going to throw my name out or just throw it away and start over with my company, but I wanted to do something with like a hot iron, like when you, what do you call it? You brand a steer, a boar, a cow or something like that, and take that branding and make it into a branding is something, like a slogan as well.
Sure.
So Hot Red Media and flames and stuff like that.
I like it. Yeah, here's an example of an animated logo right there. It's amazing that I've thought about this niche before. How often are you going to see a branding style guide that goes into the animation of its logo? You know, I love that idea. I'm getting a little carried away here as I look at the animations of logos. Boy, we could do these really easily in Flash and then embed it. Very nice. Very, very nice. Nicely done. Anyways, so great idea. Let's continue to brainstorm. Yeah, all right. Chester says maybe making something pop on the screen and off the screen seconds later. Yep. Motion. Okay, let's talk about some audio that you could use. What are some audio things that could be added?
You know that Pepsi commercial that's out right now?
Yeah.
that is like so grasping and it's so simple. I think that, you know, just the bop, 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 that kind of thing is so weird how that just snaps and, you know, it makes people just keep saying it.
I'm going to have to look at that after we close. I'm curious to
The
know.
Pepsi commercial. It's great.
Yeah, so audio sound effects are great ideas. Excellent. Sound effects, there you can get a hold of sound effects, music. There's some non-copywritten music that you can use. You can do voiceovers. Those are all good ideas. Audio. Great. Nature sounds, that's a good one. All part of your theme and your brand. Remember, this is all part of your brand. I really want you to keep that in mind, that you're branding yourself, and color, motion, the style, the brand, are all part of your brand. The audio that you use. Okay, so we've got some of the graphical aspects, the interactive aspects, the audio, possibly some video, motion. Yep, Rhonda says her name is Freckled Frog Designs. You can make her freckles disappear and reappear. That would be great. Great idea. All right, I think we've got some great ideas. And so what I'd like you to do is storyboard those, put them together, and write up something for the discussion. Now, I just want to point out here, Jared has already made his post here. And Jared, when you watch this, I want you to remember how important it is to cite your sources. That's worth several points right there. And so I want you to I want you to do that using APA format. By the way, while I'm thinking of APA format, I have found a great Google Chrome plugin that let me show you how it works, just because this will help you with this part of your discussion. And it's this one right here. Now, all right, let's first do a little bit of research here on this topic. Interactive animated infographics. Let's just take that. And sure, we can use ProQuest and Shark. ProQuest actually will give you the citation. If you want to learn how to do that, stay after class. I'll show you. And so watch this Google plugin right there. Watch how cool it is. Let's go here, click here, and now watch this. I click here, and what it does is it builds see that right there? It just did all this for me. There's the whole reference. Isn't that awesome? This plugin is called RefMe. And there it is. Isn't that awesome? I go to the one web page, do that, and it formats it completely. Called RefMe, R-E-F-M-E. It's a Google plugin. Nice little tip for the day. Okay, so that's that. So any questions on the discussion? Are we good? ProQuest is good too. It actually will give you the I think we got to figure out the login though. I'm gonna make a note of that. We usually put the login right there. what the username and password is. Oh, I'm wanting to go to ProQuest directly. Looks like I'm missing something, so I've got to find out. Does everybody else have access? Try this link and see if you can log in. I need to know if you guys are all set up for that, because normally we put the username and password right here. All right. Yeah, I think we're good on questions, right? Okay, we're good on questions. Okay, now we're going to go over the assignment very quickly here. Oops, I need to switch gears to student view, so we're looking at it the way you guys look at it. This is the storyboard, and there's another link to it. So, the assignment is the first phase of developing your self-promotional, interactive, and responsive infographic. In week's one's discussion, you have or will post your concept along with your research on interactive, responsive infographics. For this assignment, you'll take what you wrote for your concept and save it as the first page in the PDF with your storyboard. So remember what that says there. Save it as the first page in the PDF with your storyboard. As with any animation, storyboarding is an industry standard practice that is invaluable to fleshing out scenes, camera angles, time each scene will be on the stage, remember that, and shows the interactivity that will be deployed when the animation is created. You will be creating 2 storyboards for this assignment. One for the desktop. Ah, boy. I could have sworn that it was just going to be desktop. So let's go back and just regroup, because Caroline has us doing 2 storyboards. Delete what I said. In the resources, you will find a template you can use. Since most smartphones and high resolution use a 16:9, you will be able to use the same template, but of course, a screen on the desktop is much larger to view than a smartphone. You will want to make sure your user interface works for both resolutions. When designing for a mobile device or smartphone, you have to take into consideration people will be using their fingers to touch the screen to interact with your infographic instead of the much more precise cursor of your mouse or trackpad. Thus, 2 storyboards are required. It's all about the amount of real estate. So there you can see the two examples. Pretty much a portrait view for the smaller one, and then landscape for the larger. And then just create a multi-page PDF. And here is the rubric. And it's going to require a PDF. So this would be pictures and text, description of interactivity. We have this right here.
I have a question. Okay. I'm a graphic designer, not like so much a coder and web designer and stuff like that. Okay, I know like one thing, that a computer can probably load my designs faster than maybe a cell phone. Is that correct?
You know, the connection between your device and the internet is pertinent there.
I noticed on your website that you built, when you had the interface for the cell phone, you didn't have pictures load right away. You had dial so they can pick it. So it took enough time. You gave it the thing enough time to load. Yeah, the eyes. So when I draw my storyboard, should I think about that, or is that something that we need to think about as far as loading time and things like that? That's
Yeah, the loading time variable. This here is just a navigation bar here at the top.
okay.
You can see there are images in the background.
They loaded right away, but you didn't see them right away, right?
All right, let me refresh. They're already cached right now.
Okay. All right.
By the way, if you ever want to try a test to get rid of the cache, you go to a new incognito window, and that resets everything.
Okay. I had a web designer that's a friend of mine that she called me up because I had a certain cell phone at the time, and she was testing a certain website with my cell phone device. I mean, does that come into play also, or not really? Not nowadays. It probably doesn't matter.
No, it does. I mean, you can't. Let me see if I can bring up an example of smartphone device display sizes. I want to show you. You cannot program for all of them. There is a chart. I think I just saw it there. Here, this is an example of how cell phone displays are all over the map, and smartphone. They are just different sizes, and you just can't. Here's another image that represents this. You cannot hit every single one, and so doing testing, you kind of have to pick a sweet spot for a smartphone size. You're going to say, okay, I'm going to commit to
iPhones or
5 or iPhone 4. And my sweet spot for a tablet will be an iPad 3, and my sweet spot for a Kindle Fire will be that.
Uh-huh.
So you really, we at my work, we only pick 3. We have 3 general dimensions, and obviously the rest kind of have to
kind of wing it.
I mean, the other devices are on their own because we can't cater to every specific device.
Right. Okay.
So we've just chosen 3, and it's a general. I think we've chosen the iPhone 5 for our smartphone, and then the iPad 4 for our tablet, and then just another device size.
So when I draw,
but your project is only for 2.
Okay. So when I draw for my cell phone, it doesn't really matter if I bring on my graphics and things like that.
They'll be smaller graphics. You'll have a different set of graphics that will come.
Right.
They'll be smaller in resolution, and therefore smaller in file size.
Okay.
Obviously the resolution will be smaller, and therefore it'll be smaller itself.
I was just confused because on your display you didn't have graphics at the beginning, so that's all. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that they are loading in the background. So your internet connectivity speed is a factor. So make sure that we won't worry about this week, but next week we'll need to really worry about the amount of the size of graphics and how how large they are when you save them out in the format, just because that's really important. Because you can't have like several megabytes of files being downloaded to a smartphone. It might take forever to download.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so I wanted to go over the assignment. On Wednesday night, we'll go over the assessment. So are there any further questions on the assignment? Are we good? Okay, great. Well, we've reached, we're almost at the end of our hour. And in these last few minutes, let me go over a couple of things that I was going to do during the break. One of them was the display sizes. There's on browser display statistics here. I wanted to show this to you. You're asking about how do you know how big of a size to design for? Well, as you can see throughout the years, it's changed and it constantly changes. So right now, the largest one is here, 1366 by 768 is the most popular resolution for, and so that would be, for example, the size for your large display. Your smaller display could be something, in fact, let's look at the dimensions here. So there's a 16:9 ratio right through there. You can see that. And let me see if we can find one here. Widescreen monitor is 16:9 there. We were just looking at the smartphone size. So let's look at that. Now this one is 800 by 480. The iPhone 4 is 960 by 640. And then 1280 by 800. So if we come back to our website of oops, where was it? Browser, let's see, display statistics. And we look at that, we can see here the different sizes, oops, right here. So 1280 by 800 is in 2011. So 1280 by 800 right here. So only 5% are there. Click on other high and you can see here that the most popular is 1440 by 900. So that could be the large one, 1440 by 900, and then 1440 by 900. The smaller one could be 1280 by 1024. See, we're not specifying this, so we're just going with the ratio. And so just use that research to determine which ones you do a little bit of research to determine which ones you want to go with. You might even want to use your own, look up the display size of your own cell phone and use that as your smaller example. All right, so I was going to show you that. This is lynda.com, so there's a few things I need to get back to everybody on. One is this lynda.com registration. By the way, also, if you haven't yet gotten your upgrade, there is Jason Merrill has a link to a video that shows you how to upgrade here.
Hello, this video.
This is the upgrade. If you need that link, I'll probably paste it in our chat here. That'll help you get familiar with that process. And let's see what other notes. Were there any other questions anybody had that I need to get back to you on? Oh, yep, Shark login. I'll remember to get back to you on that one. Any final questions before we end? It's 2 minutes to 9. Are you good? Okay. Thanks everybody for coming tonight. Appreciate it very much. And we'll see you Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Thanks again.